Hello and welcome back to BEFFIOBSWWM, the series where I'm beating every Final Fantasy in order because something is wrong with me. Now today, talking about Final Fantasy Adventure. So we're going back in time a little bit. It's supposed to be in chronological order, however, I figured out that I wanted to do these games after I started Final Fantasy V, and so I was like, I'll go back to them, because I was flip-flopping. I didn't really know what I was going to do. And so here we are back in time, and then everything after this, and then Mystic Quest, and will be in order. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest also came out a few months before Final Fantasy V. So, that out of the way, we're going back in time 1 year, to 1991, June 8th, to be specific, and we're going to a different system. Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3 on the NES, 4 and 5 on the SNES. We're going to the Game Boy now. So, Final Fantasy Adventure was actually originally a Final Fantasy game. Contrary to popular belief, I saw a YouTube short for some reason that spreading false information. They're thinking of Final Fantasy Legend, which was a Saga game that was renamed to a Final Fantasy game to boost the brand in the West after the release of Final Fantasy 1 when they were making Final Fantasy 2 localization. But Final Fantasy Adventure, originally a Final Fantasy game. However, this got remade and retroactively made into a Mana game, and started the Mana series. And so, I want to kind of buy all of these games, if possible, and play on, like, not original hardware, but, like, be able to have buyer's remorse. However, all the re-releases of this game strip away its Final Fantasy like lineage, heritage, references, and stuff like that. And so I just emulated the Game Boy version. And boy, I played on a Pro controller. I couldn't play on an actual Game Boy of the Procon. And this is the first Final Fantasy game here on this list that wasn't made by the core team. Sakaguchi, Amano, all that. Nope, none of those guys. It's a whole different team, and you could tell. All right. So I am not too familiar with Game Boy games. I don't really try to play a lot of Game Boy games. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the non-color and the non-sound. But let me just say, I don't think I'm gonna be going back to playing more Game Boy games. It's not a very good game. Let me explain. So, with a lot of these old games, I should also mention that this isn't an RPG. This isn't a turn-based RPG. This is an adventure game. This is Legend of Zelda. And with that, nothing is explained in the real old school adventure game fashion. Where and how to get things, not explained. Like how to progress, not explained as well. The map is very basic, and again, this is 1991, so it's like, what could they do? I bet in that time, if I like had one game and it was this, I probably would have a good time. But it's 2025 now, brother. That's the map you're giving me. Very hard to like know where things are, know where you are. And the best example of this is very near the game, and near the end of the game. You have to go get the spell Nuke. You have to go through a dungeon, and admittedly they tell you where to get Nuke, and you have to get Nuke. However, after that, you could only find out what to do after looking up a long play. You have to go directly south to a beach and nuke a specific crystal to go to an ancient civilization. You have to nuke a specific crystal and it opens up a pathway. That's just like emblematic of like what the whole game is. It's very, very annoying to play. Speaking of being annoying to play, right? The gameplay was fine. It's Legend of Zelda. You press B to attack with your various weapons. The weapons were pretty cool. I can't lie. As a very unique form of progression, where yes, you level up and you can do more damage and stuff, and the enemies, the later you get, the spongier they get and the more damage they do. So it always stays around balanced. It is very front heavy though. where the beginning, and it's like tycoonish in its difficulty level, because in the beginning it is so hard. I died like to like the same enemy like 5 times just trying to like get to the first like kind of checkpoint, like story place, and it was so incredibly hard. I thought I was gonna like give up. I was like, I should just change the rules and I shouldn't have to play this. But after you level up like the first couple times and you get heal and you get more attack power, it starts becoming a lot easier to where you're only dying to stage hazards, and when you're not playing bosses smartly near the end, you're not really dying because XP doesn't scale with level. And I thought I would hate that, but it actually is pretty good for how this game is styled and how and the difficulty of everything, because like the main way to like heal everything and heal yourself is by leveling, especially later on when like potions can't fully heal you and heal spells can't really heal you. So the level is greatly needed because you're in a dungeon and you can't like leave to go to a bed or anything. So level's not scaling. It's pretty good, but it does ease the difficulty a little bit. The difficulty though, it's like I said, it's very top heavy. It's very front heavy, and where the most difficulty comes is from finding what to do next. That's kind of where the time as well comes from. I feel like it's not a very short game, but a lot of time is spent figuring out what to do next. A lot of puzzles, I say in quotes, but it's just like you just have to kind of go off a vague hint and figure out from there. It's very annoying. Speaking of like sinking time, I spent about 10 to 12 hours. Again, I'm playing this on an emulator. I don't really know the exact time. I'm estimating between 10 and 12, which is around its like estimated time to beat, which is like 10. I did use a guide for a lot of this because I was just so lost, but I will let you know it did not detract from my experience, but enhanced it, because if I was stuck there without a guide for more time, I would have lost. I would be bald right now. Speaking more about the experience, the music, I mean, it's 8-bit, right, but it gets grating at times, especially when you layer the sound effects, and the sound effects are piercing. So there's these breakable walls that you can break with the mattock or the silver star, like the mace or whatever, and whenever you hit something that can't be broken or an enemy that can't be hit with that sword, it's like a little beep, and it's very, very annoying. And with the music, the main music, like the prelude, the main theme, like sure, that's fine, I could deal with it, but like overall, I was getting very annoyed with the music. The Chocobo song though, that was pretty fire. Dun 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 dun. Chocobos are becoming one of my favorite part of each of these games. It's good. I like that. Keep doing that, Final Fantasy. Keep doing that. If I can make some input. The combat is also pretty one-dimensional. It's kind of spam attack. It's you just hit attacks and then, but the thing is, like, you never really know a lot of times what weapon can damage certain enemies, because like some enemies I think can only be damaged with a sword, and then others can be damaged with everything else, and some can't be damaged with the mace, but then they make like a sound, like a beeping sound when like you can't hit with them, but then sometimes they make that sound and I still kill them with the weapon. I'm not really so sure. And being about the combat being one-dimensional, prime example is my method for every boss was to have my spell be heal and then my strongest weapon, and I just stand inside the boss swinging my sword and swapping to heal when I need to, because you get iframes every time you get hit and you can still keep hitting, and it's not very interesting. I know what they were going for, but it doesn't really work, because with every weapon there's a meter, and when the meter fills up, you do like the weapon gets extra properties. So the chain goes an extra tile, you can throw other weapons all the way, like the axe, like you throw the axe all the way and you catch it again, and so it's like, it's good, but it's like just spam it, bro. It really doesn't matter. Let's. Now onto the story. There's not much of a story. Like, there is a story, and they try to tell something about the Gemma Knights and the Mana Tree, because remember, this turned into the Mana series, so it's kind of very loose Final Fantasy. The only Final Fantasy things are the Chocobo and some of the items, like there's crystals, and the spells naming convention. Those are Final Fantasy at its core, but everything else is like not really a Final Fantasy game. But the story is kind of non-existent. For a very short Game Boy game, they really try to make the grandness of a traditional Final Fantasy game, right? This game came after Final Fantasy IV, so I can imagine they're trying to make such a narrative, and a tragic narrative. There's a lot of similarities between this and Final Fantasy IV with its tragedy and its death, because a lot of the companions you get, they end up dying in the end. They end up sacrificing themselves for you, and the main character ends up adding them another reason to avenge them in their quest. Very Final Fantasy IV-like, except in Final Fantasy IV it worked more because you spent a lot of time with them in your party. The most prime example of this is you resurrect an ancient tower out of the ground in the desert, and you go in and you meet this robot that was sent there to protect it, and the robot wants you to help him save the tower or whatever, right? Defeat the boss at the top. And so you go through this whole dungeon, which maybe lasts 30 minutes, and you beat the boss, and the tower starts sinking. And they're like, quick, let's go over here. And then the bridge kind of collapses. And he's like, here, I'll throw you and I'll jump after. And then he throws you, and then the main character's like, come on, jump. And he's like, I was not programmed to jump. You must save the world. You are the Gemma Knight, whatever. And he's like, no, stop. And no, I will avenge you. You know, it's like, I met him for 30 minutes. Like, he didn't do anything to me. Like, why are you acting like this is some grand death? Speaking of talking characters, I know it's Game Boy and they have 2 buttons and it uses 2 buttons for other things, but like talking with people was so annoying. The moment you run into someone, they start a dialogue box when the text is so slow, and it's so annoying in towns because they just have random walk patterns, and you're walking, they walk into you, and now you're talking to them. It's like, I need to go somewhere. That also adds to the time a lot, because that happens a lot of times. And another thing, the item system is very infuriating. So I get having a limited backpack, especially for a GBA game, but having items that run out is so infuriating. Particularly keys, because the other item that runs out that you need, Madoc, gets replaced by a weapon later on, right? But keys, they never get replaced. And you need keys in a dungeon to get through the doors. A lot of times they're optional. But in the final dungeon, particularly in the Heaven to Me, you need keys to get in, and one of the last doors you need is mandatory, and there's no way around it. You need to get a key to go through that door. And I brought keys with me, except I ran out. And the one door left was the only door I needed to get through. And the only way to get keys from there is either you have to go back to a shop, which I'm all the way at the final dungeon. I'm at like literally 4 more rooms and I'm out. But I have to find a skeleton, which is the only enemy. I have to find a skeleton, which is the only enemy here that drops keys. And the only one that's there is like 2 floors down in a specific room. And I have to go in and out, killing these couple skeletons till one finally drops a key, and then I can finish the dungeon. And it's such an underwhelming ending too, because you beat the enemy who took the power of the Mana Tree, and the Mana Tree's dead, and then the girl you've been kind of rescuing this whole time's mom comes and, we are the seeds of the Mana Tree, you must plant yourself. You can walk away, or plant yourself. And she's like, I will plant myself. But she's the last of her race, by the way. So if she dies, there's no more Mana Tree in the world, and chaos will reign free. There's no... So now your main character has to protect the Mana Tree for the rest of his life, and the Gemma Knights can never go almost extinct like it was just now. And evil can never reign again. It's like, that's pretty stupid. I don't know, man. It's... maybe I'm just annoyed based on the entire rest of the game, and I had to play it. but just what a lackluster story. I didn't like this game very much, but I will say we have one more mid, technically two more mid, but one more like sizable mid, and then we're on to an unprecedented level of peak, and that's all I'm looking forward to, because Final Fantasy Adventure, and then Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. After that is Final Fantasy Legend of the Crystals, which is an anime, and it's going to take like 2 hours, so it's going to be nothing. Then after that is Final Fantasy VI into Final Fantasy VII into Final Fantasy Tactics. Oh boy, that's what I'm looking forward to. Never touched 6. I got a decent way, maybe like a little less than halfway into 7. Before I started to start this series. And Tactics, I've been looking forward to Tactics for a long time, and the remake just came out. I'm excited, but that's one step at a time. I'm going to give this game a 2 out of 10. Here's the ranking of the game so far. Next is Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. I will see you guys then.